Okay, so here we have an under the gun limp. We wake up with Jack 9 of diamonds in the cutoff and we decide to raise it up to $20. The under the gun player calls and we're gonna see a flop heads up. The flop is Queen of Hearts, 7 of Hearts, 9 of Clubs. He checks and I check back here. It's good when you have middle pair to check back and pot control. Plus it's a pretty wet texture, and the wetter the texture of the board, the more likely you're gonna get check raised. So the turn is the 7 of spades, and now the under the gun player is betting $35. Definitely think our hand is too strong to give up here. He could be betting some heart draws. He could be betting some like 6-8 combos or like 10-8 suited combos. So we're definitely not gonna be giving up here. So we give it a call, and river is the 6 of spades. He checks. I definitely don't think I'm gonna go for thin value here. So I decided to check back, and he showed 6-8 of diamonds. So here we have pocket jacks, and there is a $15 live button straddle. You always love seeing these big pairs when the straddles are on. The action always starts to the left of the live straddle, so it started on me, so I raise it up to $50 here in the small blind. The big blind, who is #morebob, calls, and the button straddle calls as well. So we are 3-way, and the flop is ace of diamonds, 4 spades, 3 of diamonds. I decide to check here. I don't want to c-bet since there is an ace on the board. The big blind checks, and the button straddle checks as well. The turn is the 10 of clubs, and now Bobby Boy in the big blind leads out for $80. Definitely not something you want to see with pocket jacks here, especially when he's betting into 2 other players. So the button ends up folding, and I think for a while, and I thought, it's Bobby Boy. Why am I gonna try and make a loose call here? So I fold, and he shows the ace queen. So I'm definitely happy that I made a good fold there. When Bob calls the $50 raise there from the big blind, I do think he is going to have some strong ace-x. Maybe he's flatting with ace-king because he is on the nittier side. But he is going to have like some ace-queen, ace-jack, ace-10 combos. And I just don't want to play a guessing game, especially against the hubby. Okay, so no straddle on this time. The under the gun player raises it up to $15. I am on the button with queen 10 of clubs. I like flatting this hand. This is a good flatting hand, especially in position. The big blind calls as well, and we're 3-way to the flop. The flop is 10 of spades, 8 of hearts, 4 of clubs, and both players check, and I decide to check back here and be sneaky with my top pair. The turn is the 9 of hearts, now bringing in a flush draw and completing some straights. So the under the gun player decides to bet $30, and I decide to just smooth call here. No reason to do anything else. There's no reason to raise because you can't really get called by worse, especially on this run out. The big blind calls the 30 as well. The river is the queen of hearts, now completing in the backdoor flush, and there is now 4 cards to a straight here. But I do have 2 pairs. So the under the gun player checks, and I decide to check back, which thankfully it was a good check back because he immediately says flush and flips over ace jack of hearts. So we lost that one, but I kind of feel like we lost the minimum there. Okay, so here we have pocket tens in the cutoff. Under the gun player min raises to $10. I decided to 3-bet here because I had noticed that he was 3xing a lot of his hands, and now suddenly he's just min raising. So not quite sure what this means, but usually when someone does something like this, it's typically like a little pot sweetener. I see a lot of people just wanting to, put in a min raise just to kind of sweeten the pot a little bit, even though they have a hand that they don't necessarily want to go much bigger with. So I see this happen a lot with like suited connectors and small pairs and stuff. So I decided to 3-bet here for value. I go 40. The small blind and the under the gun original raiser calls as well. The flop is jack 6-3 rainbow, checks to me, and now I decide to c-bet here. I think it's fine. It's a pretty dry texture. Plus we do block some of the jack 10 combos. So I think that I could c-bet here for value and get called by worse, especially because a hand like pocket 9s or 8s would call considering its second pair. But if the board was higher and more connected, then I would more than likely check back. I guess they didn't have much because both players folded.
Any day, Nate.
Okay, so here there is an under the gun straddle to 15, 3 callers, and I decide to call with pocket fours in the big blind. Now the under the gun straddler is sweetening the pot up a little bit and making it $45. Everyone called, so now I decide to call as well. We hit the money shot, Queen 7-4 rainbow, so we flop bottom set in a 3-bet pot with a straddle on. I am excited. So the action checks to the hijack, who decides to bet $65. The button calls, and now I'm licking my lips and it's time for a check raise. So I put in a check raise to $240. This was a more connected flop. Like if there was a flush draw, I'd probably consider dunk leading my bottom set because my hand would require more protection. But on a rainbow flop, pretty dry texture, I am fairly confident that my hand is good. I mean, of course I could be losing to queens and sevens, but if that is the case, then so be it. So I think on a texture like this, a check raise is the play. And you're never gonna believe what happens. Bobby Boy goes all in for $560. This is very bittersweet. You never want to stack the hubby, and I certainly don't ever want to get stacked by the hubby because that will just be the most tilting thing ever. I hate when I lose to Bob. Let me know in the comments if you guys can relate. Like, how do you feel about losing to your significant other? Like, to me, it's just the most tilting thing. And my mistake, Bob didn't actually go all in for 560. He actually had quite a bit behind. I wind up making the call. The turn is the deuce of spades. I check, he checks back. 8 of hearts on the river. We both check as well because happy wife, happy life, happy husband, happy whatever. And he ends up showing ace queen, and I take down the pot. I kind of feel bad about this one because, again, I don't like winning chips off Bob, but is what it is. Okay, so here I have pocket jacks under the gun, and I raise it up to $20, and I get 5 callers. The flop is 2 of hearts, 2 of diamonds, 6 of diamonds. I continuation bet $60 here, and the hijack calls and the small blind calls as well. And one thing to note in this hand, the hijack is incredibly tight, and the small blind is incredibly loose. So 3 of clubs on the turn, and I decide to check here and pot control. I could go in for another bet, but I think at this point I want to just check. I can comfortably call a bet, and this way I don't have to worry about getting raised. The hijack bets $100. I decide to call, and the small blind calls as well. The deuce of clubs on the river, and the action checks around, and I check back here when in reality I think I should have bet once they check to me, because you would assume that they would be leading a deuce or, you know, betting better full houses. So I think I missed a value bet here, but all good is what it is. Okay, so here we have ace of diamonds, 10 of diamonds on the button. There is a $20 under the gun straddle, and the middle position player calls. I decide to raise it up to $100. The under the gun player calls, and the middle position calls as well. Straddle calls, and we are heads up to the flop. The flop is jack of diamonds, 4 of diamonds, deuce of hearts. I decide to c-bet here $80, and the under the gun player calls. Turn is the 5 of hearts, now bringing in 2 flush draws here. He checks, and I decide to check back here. I'm hoping to realize my flush equity, hoping to hit an ace or possibly a 10 to make my hand good. We hit the nuts on the river. So he bets $120, and I decide to put in a raise here to $490. Definitely like going big here because he can certainly have some worse flushes. He could have an ace and decide to make a hero call with his straight. Same thing with a 6. So I definitely want to go big, and the bigger I go, the bluffier it looks and the more polarizing it looks. So definitely don't want to miss out on value by going too small. He didn't have a flush or a straight. It's going to be hard for him to call anyway, so might as well go for a big sizing. So he calls, and he has king 5 of diamonds. I can't believe it. We flush over flushed him. What a cooler. Now I'm wishing that we raise a little bit more, but we won a nice $1,400 pot there. Okay, so here we have pocket 8s under the gun, and we raise it up to 20. We get 4 callers, which is totally fine with a hand like this. We're getting better implied odds to hit our set. Pretty good flop for our hand here, 6-7-3 rainbow. We have an overpair to the board, and we are blocking hands like 8-9 and 5-8 and, you know, those types of hands. So the small blind decides to lead out here for $50. We think for a little bit and we make the call. The under the gun one player and the cutoff calls as well. Queen of clubs on the turn, and now the cutoff is betting $200. Now, I don't think that this is a spot where we want to make the call, especially because we are blocking some of his bluffs. Like I said, we are blocking 8-9 and 5-8. So no real reason to be a hero here. When somebody bets into multiple people like that, you have to kind of just give them more credit. So we make a fold. We ask to get a show for the vlog, and he ends up showing a 6. So who knows, maybe he had a set of 6s, maybe he had a hand like 6-7, or maybe he had a6, who knows. I definitely get a lot of people showing for the vlog, which is actually good for me in the long run, right? Get a little bit more information. So thanks to all you guys. You have increased my EV slightly. And please don't forget to hit that subscribe, hit the notification bell, all the buttons. It really helps me out. And let me know in the comments how you think I played these hands and what you would do differently. Okay, so here we have Ace King offsuit. Under the gun player raises it up to $35. Here I decided to just play safe and play small ball and just call the Ace King. We are on the deeper side here, and I just don't want to run into too much trouble if I do 3-bet. So the middle position calls and the big blind calls as well. Flop is Ace Jack 9 rainbow. Under the gun, original aggressor, continuation bets for $100, and I give it a call. We are now heads up to the turn. The turn is the 3 of hearts. Under the gun, continuation bets again. He goes for $200 now, and we give it a call. I definitely think there's a good chance that we have the same hand, but he can also have a hand like Ace Queen, possibly Ace 10. He could have Ace Jack, that beats us, but I definitely think our hand is too strong just to fold. So we give it a call, deuce of spades on the river. He checks, and I bet $260. I definitely think it'd be a mistake if you didn't try to go for value here. He could have a hand like Ace Queen or worse aces. I didn't want to go too big because I do want to get value from, you know, maybe a hand like pocket kings or queens or worse aces. Go much bigger, I don't think I'm going to get called by those hands. But he does end up making the call, and he has Ace 10, so we picked up a nice pot there. Okay, so here we look down at Ace 9 of clubs in the big blind. There is a $15 button straddle, 5 callers. I decided to give it a call in the big blind, and the button straddle raises it up to $60. There's 4 callers. I, of course, decide to call as well, and we're gonna see a fun pot multi-way. Flop is Ace of diamonds, 10 of diamonds, 4 of spades. Everybody checks. 7 of hearts on the turn. Now I decide to lead out here for $125. I figured my hand needs protection, but again, I don't really want to bloat the pot with a hand like this because my kicker isn't great, so I'm probably leaning towards a check now that I look at it, but again, let me know your thoughts. The middle position player calls. He only has $25 behind, so he's basically all in. River was the ace of hearts. I went all in for his last $25, and you're never gonna believe it. He actually folded, and I won the pot. Amazing.